my mind, I can understand a verbal problem, but it takes a long time to verbalize it and for words to come out. So I will now ask you, why did it take so long to get back what I used to do so well? Hello, welcome to episode 39. Why recovery from a stroke is so painfully slow. It has been 23 years since I had the stroke, and I am still recovering. It is something most of us, that proceeds ever so slowly that many people get discouraged. They might even give up. So usually when you have a terminal illness, it lasts days, maybe weeks, maybe lasts years. When you have, say, like a diagnosis of Parkinson's or ALS, people expect a constant decline, unfortunate as it is. And it is unfortunate to have a friend who died recently from ALS. And stroke is different in that your decline is immediate, usually caused by a precipitating event. You go from normal to suddenly a basket case in one fell swoop. You have to dig your way out of an enormous hole and might get out completely, might get out partially, or hardly at all. And since you don't have a gypsy fortune teller usually handy to tell you when or by what means you can best arrive there, whatever that place is, you're in a never world of being stuck and wondering what's going to happen next. By the way, please like and subscribe to my channel. I wish to spread the word that one's life is not necessarily lost. And I hope also by subscribing you get instant access to a list of the videos I have, and that's now 39. So any questions? Now back to the video. So maybe you're unable to walk or speak or both. And which do you work on first, or even emphasize first? As you approach regaining walking and speaking, don't let the slowness of recovery get you down. Let's focus on these two as examples. I could walk again, roughly with a cane in very short distances, shockingly short distances, within a couple of months. Not much of an accomplishment for someone who just months before was a marathon runner, and spasticity in my right leg meant after 10 years I could slowly achieve 3 miles before my right leg gave out. It took me 10 years to get to that point. Speaking was a similar story. I went from zero, zilch, nada, niente. After 10 years, eventually getting up to the point where I didn't have to labor over each word so much. And now, after 23 years, I am fairly relaxed and fluid in my speech. Not as quick as before, but getting there. In my mind, I can understand a verbal problem, but it takes a long time to verbalize it and for words to come out. So I will now ask you, why did it take so long to get back what I used to do so well? Stroke recovery is a long and individualized process because it involves first injury to the brain, and depending on which areas and how deeply those areas were affected, then it affects the body. You are about to enter a necessarily rewiring job on a major scale. The extent and location of brain damage, the speed with which treatment is initiated by someone, and the individual factors everyone has of age and overall health influence the recovery timeline. While significant improvements occur within the first 3 to 6 months, recovery, obviously, after that continues for years. I mean, again, obviously at a slower pace. I remember my brother recalled as he heard about the stroke, one of my brothers, wow, now Rich is going to get payback for all those years of marathon running, because maybe I might not have survived if I was not in good shape. Who knows? There was a point at which it was questionable. So the first general areas, again, is the brain damage and the concept of neuroplasticity, rewiring the brain. The brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections is crucial for recovery. This process, called neuroplasticity, is most active in the initial months after a stroke, allowing for the most rapid functional gains. Rewiring means that neuroplasticity helps to rewire functions to the healthy areas of the brain. However, this process takes time and effort and uses energy, so that's partially why you're fatigued so much. And as the brain heals, this rate of recovery typically slows down. The body is estimated to have 46 miles of nerves. I repeat, 46 miles of nerves. So how many in your stroke need rewiring? This, for me, at least, explains why recovery for most of us takes so long. This, for me, at least explains why recovery, again, for most of us takes so long, so painstakingly long. And not every connection was cut depending on the severity of the stroke. And then there are other factors affecting recovery. The speed of treatment. In other words, in my case, I wasn't able to get access to the top treatment until it was too late. Prompt medical attention after a stroke is critical, but we're beyond that, because the fact that you're watching this video means you already had the stroke. The faster the treatment is administered, though, the less damage the stroke is likely to cause, potentially leading to a better recovery outcome. My brain was sort of wiped out a little, supposedly 1/3 of my brain, and because my recovery treatment was delayed. Individual factors, by the way: age, overall health motivation, and the level of support from family and friends and colleagues at work all play a significant role in the recovery process. Another major factor is rehab or rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation, occupational, and speech therapy are essential for recovering lost skills and adapting to any permanent impairments if you have to. Consistent and dedicated participation in rehabilitation is key to maximum recovery. And the recovery timeline, for the initial phase, the first few weeks after a stroke, are crucial for stabilizing the patient's condition and initiating rehabilitation. The most significant improvements in function are typically seen within 3 to 6 months after a stroke, meaning the most obvious, the most visible to the casual observer. And then after that period, after the initial recovery continues but at a slower pace. Some individuals may reach a plateau in their recovery, while others will continue to see a gradual improvement for years. And I'm in that category, but you have to work at it. It doesn't happen naturally. I'm still working every day at improving. Don't get discouraged by plateaus of improvement, and then because there's continued progress. Maybe you're stuck in a rut for 1 or 2 or 3 a week or more, and then suddenly you go a little forward. Expect that to happen. It is common for stroke survivors to experience plateaus in their recovery. This can be due to the natural slowing of neuroplasticity or other factors reducing efforts to improve. And be very conscious of what you eat. For instance, nutrition that builds your not only immune system, but nerve. Be sensitive if you're starving your brain, shall we say. Look into problems like that, because if you eat terribly, if you eat a diet of all potato chips, for instance, then I assume you slow your getting better. In conclusion, stroke recovery takes time because it involves healing of the brain, promoting neuroplasticity, and relearning lost skills. I can not emphasize the miles of nerves that might have been affected. The severity and location of the stroke, the speed of treatment, and your individual factors will all influence the recovery timeline and the extent of functional gains that can be achieved. The more time and effort you put into the recovery, on the whole, it has a good impact on the outcome. This means, in short, stop working, suggest to me, stop making progress. That's my opinion. With that, I will leave you for the moment. Again, don't give in to stroke, and thank you very much for listening. Until next time.